I'm Rachael Leahcar. I'm a singer-songwriter from Adelaide, and I'm going to tell you a bit about myself and my journey with vision impairment. Usually I'm singing, so it's a bit unusual that I'll be doing some talking, so just bear with me. If I forget anything, I've got my human cue card, Emma, in the front row. So I'm going to start from where everyone starts, the beginning. When I was born, I was only 1.6 kilos, or £3.10, which is pretty small for a full-term baby. I wasn't premature, just really, really small, and not much has changed since. I actually wore doll's clothes for the first 6 months of my life. When I was 6 months old, I had an MRI. This determined that I had a condition called Retinitis Pigmentosa. This is a genetic degenerative eye condition. Try to say that 10 times fast. It means I have tunnel vision, short-sightedness, night blindness, and it's all very patchy, and this will deteriorate over time. So I'm left with just under 10% of vision left, and there is no cure for retinitis pigmentosa, but I've learned to live life anyway. Growing up, we all danced and sang as a family whenever we could. I was very fortunate to grow up in a house with music, and I loved watching the old classic musicals like The Sound of Music and Disney movies like Mulan, and would always sing along. My favourite song came from my favourite movie of all time, The Wizard of Oz. So my favourite song to sing was Over the Rainbow, and it was the first song I sang on stage as a 7-year-old with the school choir. And I just loved it so much that I started singing lessons and piano lessons when I was 9. So that was a lot of fun. I entered my first singing competition when I was 10 years old, Search for a Star, and I sang Predictable by Delta Goodrum. And that's significant. Some of you may know why, but I'll tell you a bit later. One of the reasons is because she was the first concert I ever went to, and I got VIP pillows. I felt pretty special, and I got her to sign them 7 years later. So I didn't get through in this competition. I didn't even get through the first heat, but I didn't really care because I was just in it for fun. I just loved to sing, and I did it whenever I could. I didn't care about winning. But I was pretty stubborn. I really wanted to prove myself that I could do anything. So I entered again when I was 12 years old, and guess what? I got all the way to the grand final, and I came third against everyone of all ages. It was so exciting, and I got some recording time in a studio, so that was great. And I also auditioned for the special interest music program at a high school, which allowed me to do 10 to 15 hours of music a week in school. And I picked up the flute because the piano was too big to lug around the school, so I had to start playing the flute, and I joined all the choirs and things. That was fun. I saved up all my money, and I paid for more recordings, and I brought out my first CD when I was 14 called Rachel's Repertoire, and this had a lot of classic songs on it because I just love singing the classics, and I grew up with Italian grandparents, so they were always encouraging me to sing in Italian, and I picked up a bit of French, and 2 songs that were on this album is Non je ne regrette rien, can anyone say that? By Edith Piaf, and Notte di Luce by Il Divo. So I've always loved singing in different languages, so I sang those, and they were in fact the 2 songs that won me another competition when I was 15, a trip to Italy to sing in Rome on television that was broadcast all over the world. And I was just so blown away by this trip. I loved the culture, and it was so beautiful in Italy. And I even got to meet my best friend over in Venice. She just happened to be there with her school at the same time. It was pretty amazing. And when I came back, I was now a professional singer, and I got to sing for charity events and weddings and festivals and Italian events. And I saved up all my money again for more recordings. But while all this was happening, my vision was deteriorating quite rapidly in my teenage years. I think when I was little, I didn't really notice, because when you're a kid, you just sort of go about your business, and if there's differences between you, you just go, oh, that's all right, yeah, that's cool. But when you're a teenager, you start to question things a bit more. and I was told that I had to start using a cane in high school because it was a health hazard if I didn't, because I was tripping over bags and and I was falling upstairs. So I started using a cane on my first day in year 10, as if I didn't feel different enough. So I heard whispers in the hallways, and is she going blinder? Or there's the blind girl, you know. I said, I'm not deaf. But I heard these things, and I had to realise that, yes, I was going blinder, and my vision was deteriorating quite rapidly. And if I didn't accept this about myself, I would have, you know, been really sad and down on myself. So I started to develop more of a sense of humour. I actually remember one time the lights were all off because it was Earth Day or something like that, and I hated Earth Day. I love saving the planet, but it's not too great when you can't see in the dark. So I remember this big hallway full of people that I had to get through in the dark, and of course nobody's looking. So right at the beginning, I held up my cane and I said, blind girl coming through, and I barreled through the hallway and everyone got out of my way. It was great. I don't particularly recommend this because it can be dangerous, but it worked. I had a sense of humour about it, and that's how I got through. I accepted it as a part of myself, and I was proud of it because I was different, really. And differences are what makes us unique, and who wants to be normal anyway? So I went through my schooling and I saved up more of my money and released my second album when I was about 16, 17, called Rachael Leahcar. And some of you might know, but Rachael Leahcar isn't actually my real name. Well, Rachael is, but Leahcar isn't. Because when I was about 15, I was deciding, what should I do with my name? Because I really admired people like Pink and Lady Gaga and Judy Garland. Bit of a different load of singers there, but I really wanted to find a stage name for myself so I could have that different persona to be confident on stage. It just made me more confident. And I thought, what should my name be? Maybe I should do Rachael backwards as my last name. And there you have it, Rachael Leahcar. Leahcar is Rachael backwards. For those who want to know, my real last name backwards is Wumalatrab. Can try to figure that one out. But it's a bit too long to fit on a CD, so I brought out my second CD, Rachael Leahcar, and this was another 10 songs. And my brother actually did the artwork for both of those CDs, and I donated $1 from every CD to Can Do for Kids, which is an organisation that helped deaf and blind children. So I thought it was really important to give back to the community that helped me. So when I was 16, I entered the first competition for television, Australia's Got Talent, and I didn't get through. It was funny because I went to Perth and I did the TV auditions and they all said yes. But unfortunately backstage they said even if you get 3 yeses you might not get through. And I got an email 2 weeks later saying you're not through. But I sang Non je ne regrette rien for this one and I was a bit sad about that. I was finding my voice, I suppose. And when I was 17, I entered the X Factor. And I didn't even get to TV. It wasn't even that far, I didn't get through anywhere. But that was okay. As I said, I wasn't in it to win it. And I really didn't think that I could make a career out of music. So I was still just doing it for fun, and I was thinking, oh, what should I do? What should I do for the rest of my life? As people do. But it doesn't usually work out that way, does it? So I kept singing, and I kept doing my schooling, and I became an ambassador for the Royal Society for the Blind because I wanted to help out a bit. And they put me in some commercials, which was pretty cool. So I was on TV in Adelaide. Every now and then, you'd hit my commercial and I'd run over and go, it's me! And I got to hold this cute little Labrador puppy. It was about 8 weeks old, very cute. And I got a recognition award for my work with the RSB in Year 12. But I actually did Year 12 music when I was 16 in Year 11 because I just wanted to show off. And I ended up getting 20 out of 20, which was really exciting. And at the formal, my formal in Year 12, real Year 12, I got voted Best Female Musician and most likely to be famous, which was really nice. I was laughing a lot. This is what I'm so excited to talk about. It's the voice. So when I was in Year 12, I thought I'd take a gap year and see how far I could go with music. I didn't really believe I could do it or make a career because I just didn't have the confidence in myself. I didn't really think that I had what it took. But I just loved it, and any chance I could get to sing, I took it. So I took a gap year, and I actually applied for speech pathology, as you heard before, and got in. But during this year, my auntie said, "Oh, Rachel, there's this new TV show called The Voice." And I looked at it and I saw, oh, blind auditions. That's perfect. This is a show for me. Surely I have a good chance. But of course, you know, it's not about that. The coaches don't look at you while you're singing. And if they like you, they press their button and turn around. But there is so much more than that to this show that people realise. In 2011, in September, I sent in my online audition, which was a YouTube video. And fun fact, the producers don't even look at the screen when you're doing these online auditions. I thought that was very fair. So I sent in my online audition, and in November, I did the Adelaide auditions. And in December, I did the Melbourne auditions. There was a lot of auditions. Then finally, in February, we filmed the blind auditions. And I was just happy to get to this stage. It's been such a long journey. I'd finished Year 12 in 2011, and I was in my gap year. And funny enough, all the coaches turned around. So I had to choose. I only had 3 questions, just in case a couple turned around. So I had to get 4 ready. They all turned around. And another reason why I was nervous is because in Australia's Got Talent, I sang a French song. But they encouraged me to sing a French song for this one as well, La Vie en Rose. And I was a bit nervous. I didn't think anyone would turn. They all did, and I got through to the next round. And this was the day before my 18th birthday, so it was a great birthday present. The next round was in March. It was the battle rounds. And we got given a song, a version by one of my favourite artists of all time, Eva Cassidy. She did this beautiful version of Over the Rainbow that I just love, but I could never sing. And I thought, yep, this is it, I'm out in the battles, and I didn't know what to do, but somebody told me. They said, Rachel, you don't have to do it like her. Just be yourself. Do it like you would. And that's what I did. And I got through. And you know what? I couldn't tell anyone what was going on because they didn't want anyone to spoil it for when it got on TV. So I couldn't tell anyone about all these amazing things that were happening to me. And then the commercials started. These big dramatic music commercials saying, coming in 2012. It was so scary, and I was so nervous. But when it came on TV, I was overwhelmed by the amount of support that I got. At the time of my blind audition alone, there was 4.1 million people watching, and this broke TV records. So I got through, and somehow I kept getting through. And I got a mild cold in the battles, and I thought this was the end of it. But despite eating healthy chickpeas and couscous for almost every meal, because that was the sponsor, it was gross. I was so craving Macca's. But despite this, everyone got sick, and I thought I was out of it. But in the semi-finals, I decided it was a good idea to get laryngitis. I'd never had it in my life, but yeah, I got it then. And I couldn't speak a word before I went on stage for my semi-final performance of Notte di Luce, which, if you remember, was the same song I got to sing in Italy when I was 15. So I sort of said, oh, what do I do? And I just tried to use the emotion of the song, and it sounded like I was crying. And I love you. It was terrible though, but somehow I got through that. And even after this performance, we still had to keep singing because it was towards the tail end of the competition. And I didn't know what to do, so I asked all my friends, my singing friends, what do I do to get rid of this? And someone told me, an opera singer, she said, boil a potato, mash it up in a tea towel, roll it up, and put it around your neck. And I did. I was pretty desperate, but it worked. Somehow I had my voice back the next day. And I sang at the grand final, and I gave it everything I got. We got to write a song, and I wrote a song called Shooting Star. I don't think they do that anymore, but we got to sing an original song. And I wrote Shooting Star for my coach, Delta Goodrum, who had led me throughout that competition, and she'd guided me well. And I sang this song for her, and we also got to do a group performance, and I got to show a different side of myself because they'd always seen me as this classic singing girl. And while I loved the classics, I still do, I do love a bit of rock here and there. So I got to sing The Chain by Fleetwood Mac in a group performance, running in the shadow. It was so much fun. And I ended up coming third and secured a record deal with Universal Music and brought out my first album, Shooting Star, and toured with Delta Goodrum around Australia. And we did our duet, Prayer, after every show. And from here, I got to sing in Italy once again for the opening of a new auditorium and new eyewear technology for legally blind people. So they had all blind performers, and it was so great. I got to see all these people from around the world performing. There was an opera singer from Japan and a pianist from Cuba, and I'll never forget this conversation I had with the pianist from Cuba. He said, how many hours did you do of singing a day? And I wanted to show off a bit again, because I like doing that. I said, I sing for 2 hours every day. How much do you play piano? He said, 18 hours a day. What? That's absolute dedication, and I just got so much inspiration from this. And I went off and I really do sing for 2 hours a day now. So in 2013, I released my second album with Universal called Romantique, and this had a couple of original songs on it which I was happy about. I did my own tour, and I brought Brittany and Fataya with me, who were also contestants on The Voice that year, good friends of mine. And I'll speed it up a bit. In 2014, I released my third album with Universal called Here Comes the Sun to celebrate 50 years since the Beatles came to Australia. And one of the songs on this album was Let It Be. And I felt like things had come full circle because that was actually the song that I auditioned with in the first online audition. So Let It Be. And also in 2014, I had to make a really hard decision because I'd actually successfully got into speech pathology, and you could only defer for 2 years. So I'd already done that. And I thought, what do I do? Should I go to uni or should I just keep doing what I'm doing? And me, being stubborn, I went to uni. But I couldn't just do it alone because it's funny. Some of the simplest things that sighted people take for granted are just, they give so much anxiety to someone with a vision impairment. Something like walking into a room filled with people and trying to find a seat. It just made me really anxious because I just imagined myself going in through these doors. It's dark, the lecture had started, and just like hitting people on the lap with my cane. So I decided to get a guide dog, and this is my guide dog Ella. She's just so beautiful and so well behaved, and I love her to bits, and it was the best decision I ever made. It's given me so much more independence. Because my family was really worried for me when I'd go out and I'd just have a cane because my vision had got even worse by this stage. So they were more comfortable with me going out, and I was really happy to get my independence. So I continued with music, and unfortunately I did leave uni 6 months after. I loved it, I really did. But it just wasn't the right time. I wanted to continue with music, and I did. And the next year, I toured my show, Colours of My Life. which is a show about my life, which you've just mostly heard. But I have a lot of songs and videos and things in it, and I will be touring this later this year. So if you'd like to catch up on that, just have a look on my Facebook and Twitter and my website, and you'll find all the details there when they're available. So I'll be doing that later in the year, and I'm also working on my next album, which is mostly songs that I've written. So I'm very excited about things to come. And I always wanted to be known as not the blind singer, but the singer who just happens to be blind. And you'll notice that in this speech, I spoke mostly about my music and what I love to do, with just a little bit about my vision on the side, because I don't want this to be my identity. I didn't want to make it the main thing about myself, although I am proud to be a person with a disability who is still going out there and doing what she loves, because I love to do music and I won't let anything hold me back. So, and I did forget to mention this actually. When I submitted my online audition for The Voice, I wanted to prove myself, and I didn't tell them anything about my vision impairment, because I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. I didn't want people to just think that I was a story to manipulate on television. I wanted to get in for my voice purely. So that's what I did, and I'm here today speaking to you all, and it's been lovely talking to you. And yeah, it's hard to find things when you're legally blind, but this is how I found my voice. Thank you so much.